Welcome, educators from all around the world. I'm your host, Bika, and I'm here with a brand new episode. This show is called Global Educators, where parents and educators from all around the world come together and talk about how to create a better place for the next generation. This episode is called AI. We have a speaker to talk about the importance and the safety of artificial intelligence. Mike's journey has taken him from a failing startup to driving innovation at PayPal for over 10 years. Now he teaches at SDSU's AI Center, writes a popular AI newsletters, and studies how creativity and technology intersects, particularly in how we prepare children for an AI-shaped future. He is not just an AI expert, he is also an enthusiastic about education, resilience, and providing families with the tools that they need to raise a happy and healthy, future ready children. Thank you for coming on our show. So, to begin with, please introduce yourself.
Mike, thanks for having me. Again, Mike Todasco, father of two, husband of one, and I just love technology, AI, and love to discuss it with people, like the good and the bad that comes with it. And hopefully, I can be useful for folks that are watching here today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, first, let's talk about the pros. What are the benefits of AI and how has it helped our lives in this generation?
Yeah, Mike, look, I see and feel the benefits of it every single day. Last night, I was just talking with my wife about, we should plan a little trip to Hawaii or something like that. And what did I do? I spent 60 seconds talking to ChatGPT, then put it in the pro mode, which is like $200 right now, super expensive, but it's going to get cheaper and going to get better. And it went off thinking for about 20 minutes and came back with this like amazing itinerary because it knows about me, knows about my family, knows about all this other stuff. It got 60% of it where it looks really good. It discovered some things I wouldn't have found otherwise. We'll have to do some tweaks and refinements and all that, but like it's a pretty amazing type experience. And that's one very superficial way that it can help. Um, the thing that it is most exciting, especially in the education space, is that it is infinitely customizable. What does that mean? Well, basically, you can effectively have this tailored to one. Like it is going to be customized for you. I think we're going to look back in a few years and think giving 30 kids in your classroom different homework assignments is just bizarre and a waste of time and inefficient. Whereas if you could give 30 different homework assignments to your class, well, they're customized, especially for younger kids, like, customized for what their interests are, where they're at, the things they're struggling on, all this other kind of stuff, and kind of have them all meet at the same place. Like, that's the future that AI is going to enable, where we can have this mass customization. It doesn't take a teacher out of the loop at all because the human relationships, the person that's there in case things go wrong, and inevitably they do go wrong. And frankly, thank goodness they go wrong, because if they didn't go wrong, then we wouldn't need humans. But like they're going to continue to go wrong for a long time. And to have that human being there to kind of fix, to right set, to all that, that's the role that educators are going to play in the future. And that's what I'm really excited about.
I think that's great news for a lot of educators.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Look, human relationships are going to matter. That is not going to go away.
What would you say to people that say that, oh, teachers are going to be replaced by robots, going to be replaced by AI? What would you say to them?
Look, if you're a teacher and you think you are going to teach classes in the year 2030, how you were teaching classes in the year 2020, you are going to be replaced. There's just no way around that. But if you're a teacher who, frankly, looks at how you can use these tools, use them to more effectively teach, use them to be there for your students, and like those are the teachers that are going to still be around. I think we have this weird notion in our brains. It's called the illusion of history, is what it's called. It's a psychological term. And sorry, the I always get this wrong every single time. It is the history Something like that, the illusion of history, something like that. But anyway, the concept is that we think that ourselves today is our best self. And if we look back 10 years and I asked you, like Vico, like who is your, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but if I asked you 10 years ago, who was your favorite musician? Who was your favorite group? Who was your favorite band? Whatever it might be, it's probably not who that is today. Like who is probably your playlist on Spotify today versus 2015? It's probably different. We evolve, we change. But if I ask you today, who's going to be your favorite brand or group in 10 years from now, you're going to be like, well, it's who I listen to today. And that never holds true. We forget how much we change and how much we evolve. And this is going to be the same in the teaching profession. Like there is no way, if you've been a teacher for 30 years, I don't think you're teaching the same way today that you were 30 years ago. I don't think you're still using, transparencies and overheads and writing on slides or whatever. You're using technology. You're using all this kind of stuff. And just AI is going to be no different. It's just hard for us to sometimes realize that and think like, oh, I will evolve with this technology and it's my job is going to change, but that doesn't mean my job goes away.
That's amazing. That's perfect. That's the kind of like what I was gonna ask next about the differences between the, let's say, millennial and up. What would you say the difference is between different generations when it comes to using AI or how they perceive AI? Which generation do you think are the most scared or feel like it's a threat? Or
Yeah.
which generation is more like perceptive?
It's weird. I don't know about generations, but I will tell you, like for current college students, there's a lot of fear that they have. Especially talking to people who are engineers and things like that. Like if you're a computer science engineer, like it's really scary trying to get a job right now. I mean, 5 years ago, the general consensus was like, hey, consumer science jobs are, that's the place to go. There's never going to be enough engineers. And those are the first jobs that, dare I say, are kind of being replaced today. And I think those students have a very different perspective on how things are going. It doesn't mean they won't have any jobs, but it does mean that their job is going to change. And dare I say, like, if you're a senior graduating now, what you've been learning over the past 4 years, like, it might not be as valid in what you're actually going to have to need to do in the workplace. Um, Other people, like I have a son who's in high school and he's 14 years old and he uses AI to help him study all the time. And it was funny, he was talking to his grandparents just yesterday. They were asking him about it, and he was commenting how, oh, well, yeah, sometimes for certain subjects, it works really well to help me study, and certain subjects it doesn't. And it's just kind of native. It's part of the flow of what he's doing. And I don't know if it's a generational thing versus a mindset thing. It's for people who are willing to experiment, to try new things, to fail. Because one of the things with AI is it doesn't work right out of the box. You have to work with it. You have to manipulate it. You have to have some patience with it. You have to try things and go down paths, and sometimes you hit a brick wall, and sometimes it works really well. All of those are things that really affect how you learn. So I think it's more about that mindset than anything generational.
Let's talk about the cons. What are the main risks that come with AI?
Look, I have a whole hour-long presentation I do on this. So, like, I think there's many. I'll try and hit the guy, give it like a greatest hits of it. Number one, first and foremost, is we anthropomorphize it. What does that mean? We find human traits in something where the humanity does not exist. This is something that we have done over time. It is it is why we can read a book and cry, a book of fiction, and because like we humanize, we relate, we do all these things. Like Jane Eyre isn't a real person, Darth Vader isn't a real person. Like these things, they're not real, but we can feel emotion. We see that. We see that in the story. We look in things and we see human-like traits and characteristics. That's one thing that very much worries me is that we're going to push some human things aside. I'm become somewhat obsessed with people using AI for relationship partners. And I do worry for the next generation with that because it's easier. When you have something that always agrees with you, always doesn't it's just easier. It's the path of least resistance, and that's something that I think is a reality. I have a former professor of mine, Sam Apple. He wrote a piece for Wired recently um, about AI relationships, and it was just so well done, where it just like really gets into the psyche. And for so many of us today, we look at that and say, "Oh, that's ridiculous. Why would people ever do that? It's unhuman." Blah blah blah. But like I remember in 1997 being in college and somebody telling me that our teacher at the front of the class, he was a teacher's assistant, so he was younger, probably in his 20s, telling us he's getting married. And we said like, "Oh, where'd you find your girlfriend, your spouse?" And he said, "Oh, I met her online." I'm not joking. Micah, like there was a visible laughter in the class. Like literally, we were laughing at him when he said, "Oh my God, you are so pathetic." I mean, that was the gut reaction in 1997 for you're marrying the person you met online. What is wrong with you? Um, that's commonplace today. Nobody would laugh like, "Oh, you met them on Tinder, you met them on like, oh my God." No, that's commonplace. So like that's just one of the many things. Like I know I said I was going to go through others and I can, but like at least that's something that definitely does scare me with this is that like these things we passed the Turing test where like you don't know if it's a human or an AI on the other side. Like it's hard to tell. Even and these are just machines, they're just pattern matching, but our brains aren't really evolved for having something like that and knowing the difference between human and fake.
Wow, that's nice. Because I was actually talking to my friends the other day about, I sent them a link about how ChatGPT is ruining people's marriages because people are asking questions from ChatGPT. And there's probably like also another video, like it's more like a comedy satirical video of someone was like they're on a, you've probably seen it, right? Like they're like on a
Is it
date.
South Park?
No. They were like on a date, and then there was like, "Oh, I'm on a date. ChatGPT, what should I do?" They're like talking to the ChatGPT instead of talking to each other on a date.
Sure. Okay.
So
Yes. I
like
know.
it's making fun of how people are dating, and it's
Yeah.
kind of scary to say that it's become reality, which I don't want it to be reality. But there's nothing I can do. But
Yeah.
how can we prepare for these unprecedented
Yeah.
changes?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I think the thing I try and do is just have conversations. Just make people aware of this. Make people aware of how these machines work, and they are machines, what they're doing under the hood, and how our own human psyche works for that. Like, I'm not saying that there might not be benefit in talking to these things. I do it all the time. At San Diego State, where I'm at, and other places, we've been doing research in post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, for you know over 10 years in using AI to help with that. The very first work with an AI therapist was at Stanford back in the 1960s. And it would just say back what you were basically saying. This wasn't artificial intelligence. It was just a computer program, basically, for all it was called ELIZA. And it would just parrot back the last few words. And we found out people love to talk to it. And it was reassuring. And look, at 3 in the morning, first of all, not everyone can afford a therapist. Not everyone has access to a therapist. Not everyone has a partner. Not everybody has all that. So, like, at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're up in the middle of the night, you're not feeling it, and maybe ChatGPT is the right place to turn to at that time. I don't know. I don't know where these lines are going to be drawn. Um, I wrote a piece recently called "How Many People Has ChatGPT Killed?" and kind of going into the research of this because there are people who have said they have taken their own life because of ChatGPT or other chatbots. Not they have said it, but their families have said that, their court cases and all that, and that is going to happen. But like the flip side of this is there is going to be a lot of benefit. There is going to be a lot of improvement. And like for us as a society, like I don't know where that line is. Like it's going to be, we're not going to get it right. It's going to be messy. We're going to have to determine the line. We're going to have to continually shift it. But I just want to have a logical two-sided conversation with it. AI is not all good and AI is not all bad. I think it is more good than bad. And I think anybody who says it's on either end of the spectrum is wrong or lying. And it's just like, where as a society do we think it is? And that's like the fruitful discussion for us to have. And from that, we'll kind of decide, well, how do we want to use this in our world?
What are some misconceptions and biases about AI that people have?
I think people, again, I'm going to oversimplify here, but I think people put AI into two camps. Either it is going to take all of our jobs and it's like this perfect thing, or it's completely useless because I tried ChatGPT once, I asked it a question and didn't know the answer, and then I'm like, oh, I'm never going to use it again. Like, I think the more that people use it, the more of a nuanced view you have on it, where like it can be amazing at certain things. It is so good, so helpful. Um, I'm gonna go for a bike ride after this. And on my bike ride for a while on there, I'm gonna actually have it going through my headphones, and I'm gonna be talking to my AI as part of it, and I'm gonna be brainstorming some ideas that I want to bounce off. And from that, I'll have this transcript and all this stuff, and like that's super useful. It's gonna ask me questions, it's gonna do all this stuff, and that's great. Um, but like, you know, writing a book is one thing that I've actually been experimenting with AI since 2022. I've actually published 19 books that are written by AI and have them on Amazon under the pen name Alex Irons. I take no money from I give all the money to charity. I don't want any of that, but it's an experiment to basically say, hey, this really difficult thing, how well does AI do it? And I will say 3 years into this experiment, it doesn't do it very well. It still struggles with that. But can it write a note to your doctor or a note to your landlord saying, can you reduce my rent and do that really well and so forth? Yeah, it can do things like that really well. Other things it can't. And so I think a lot of the misconceptions with it, especially about its abilities, just come from not using it. And the more you use it, the more you understand it's amazing at some things and it's really awful at other things.
How can teachers and parents work together to educate students about how to use AI effectively and carefully?
Yeah, I mean, even I don't push my students very much on, or I'm sorry, I don't push my kids very much on AI stuff because I figure they're going to get evolved and around to it. And frankly, they don't want to hear from their dad anyway. That's the honest truth. I will show them things I create. I made a 90-second news clip just yesterday using a tool called VO3. And it was a fake news clip basically showing where babies are allowed to vote in the United States. And I showed it to my 12-year-old daughter, and for the first 20 seconds, she was like, "Is this real?" And it was a little bit of a teaching lesson to just kind of say, like, "Hey, no, Dad actually created that, and this was a story that I told on that, but it does look real, doesn't it?" And so I was able to kind of have that discussion with her on that. So look, as a parent, I think the kids are going to get exposed to it. I think you just have to be open with them. I just think you have to be there. And I think you have to be educated yourself as to, what this is for, what this is not for. I mean, ask your kid, like, hey, I want to learn more about ChatGPT. Can you teach me something about that? Like, how are you using it at school or how are they teaching you? And kids love doing that kind of stuff. That's something like kind of across, like, they just don't like being told what to do, but they love to be able to show off their knowledge. How to do this better with teachers? Look, I would never ever force AI on a teacher. Never. I think teachers need to be aware of this, but I think you can be an amazing teacher and do this the old school way for certain classes. 100%. Like I have my son, when he was in middle school, had an English teacher who basically said, no computers in the classroom anymore. Just we're getting rid of computers entirely. You're writing, so basically no homework, which me as a parent loves. And you're just going to write on pen and paper. And that's it. And that's the class because I want to teach you the fundamentals. And for a class like that, it actually makes a ton of sense. It makes a lot of sense to be able to do that. And I remember I even had coffee with him one time where we kind of talked through, like, hey, if you did want to use AI, how could you do it? But he was ultimately like, no, probably not going to make that call right now. For certain classes, that works fine. For others, more advanced writing, things like that, you probably do want to introduce these tools. I think ultimately this is just a discussion we're all going to have. We're all figuring this thing out. We don't know how it's going to work. We're moving from one world. This is the Industrial Revolution happening in a 10-year time frame. And we're 3 years into this now. We got seven more to go before this looks really different. It's just having these intelligent discussions between teacher and parent and students, not hiding it, being transparent with how we want to use it, how we don't want to use it, and knowing that we're going to get stuff wrong along the way. And then as you get stuff wrong, you just change it.
What about, do you think we've come like a long ways when it comes to cybersecurity, being more aware compared to the past decade?
As a general population or as like cybersecurity specialists, are you saying?
Well, as people, just like general.
General population. No, no, no. I don't think so. Actually, I won't give this example, but like no, over the past decade, I think it's been kind of it's tough. Like I think scams are getting good. It's funny. So about once a month, I'll get an email that I'm like, is this real? I don't think it's real. I'm like 90% sure it's real, but 10% chance it's not. I will actually throw that into a language model and just say scam, just with a question mark, and I just paste the email right below it. And it's actually amazingly good at that. And it's kind of funny to me that they haven't built this out more. Where like it's like literally in Microsoft Outlook or whatever doesn't have a language model running underneath it to just look for these scams. They have other techniques for it, but like that's one to me that like seems almost like a no-brainer because some of these things are getting through and the spam filters, which are really good, are not catching it because the bad guys are using generative AI tools too. That's the thing to always keep in mind. The good guys use it, bad guys also get it. I think overall, we are getting, I think as a country and as a world, I think people are aware the scams are out there, but I think that there is a lot more to be desired from an education standpoint with that. Uh, I think to actually know why. So one of the great things when you throw like a bad email into a language model, it will often tell you why it's a scam. And so from an education standpoint, I think that's a good thing to actually be able to do that. And, maybe your email could start flagging like, hey, this is a scam, this is why. I love on my Google Pixel that I have now. There's actually a feature in there where if there's a scam caller, it will actually be listening through a language model, and it can actually flash warnings on there if you're talking to a scam caller. The biggest scams, that I see always have a point of human failure in them. It's not just system to system. It's almost always the most effective scams. It's because there was some human in the loop somewhere that's the vulnerability. That's the reality 10 years ago. I think that continues to be the reality today. Um, I wish tools were getting a little bit better. Like this phone feature does make me feel a little bit better that like, okay, my grandmother, my whomever out there, they'll at least have a notification if they are talking to a scam caller, like it says like, hey, it's really everything here that they're saying is a scam. Don't give them your bank account, or whatever it might be. Like those features do get me a little bit excited about it, the future, and at least improving that.
So we have a question from the audience.
Great.
Azar, do you want to ask your
Like ChatGPT is why is it ChatGPT creepy? Someone asked ChatGPT to take a picture of themselves and they just do a 21-year-old girl stab picture. It was like a 20-year-ago case. And now ChatGPT just reviewed the picture of that and the police officer trying to find the location. That's the ChatGPT and the ChatGPT. I don't know what you're saying. And they have their own language. That's the problem. And they might take over. That's the scariest thing.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Great question. So let me just answer. Why is ChatGPT creepy? It's because, so here's the thing. Language models are based on their training data that is out there. How are these models trained? They're trained on the entire internet. It's funny. If you looked at GPT-1, so we're on GPT-5 now. GPT-1, supposedly, nobody's been able to really verify this or not, but supposedly it was just based on Twilight fan fiction. So there's a vampire movie, Twilight. A bunch of people wrote fan fiction stories. Literally, that was the corpus of GPT-1, was Twilight fan fiction. Moving forward to now, GPT is based on everything in the internet. And when you get into dark corners of the internet, you get a lot of creepy and weird stuff. You get a lot of biases. You get a lot of other things in there. And all it's doing is finding patterns. The only thing that ChatGPT is doing is basically trying to predict the next word that is going to come out. It is a next word prediction machine. Just when it does it 5,000 words at a time, it seems almost magical to us when it can do that. But if I said to somebody, I always use this example in class, Mary had a little blank. If you know the nursery rhyme, Mary had a little lamb. That is basically the most likely outcome, and that is what ChatGPT is going to return for the end of that. There are ways to tweak that, but that is how it works. So if ChatGPT is creepy, it is because it is what it is trained on and the biases that it is trained on. There are some things you can do to tweak it. You can change your custom instructions, be like, hey, don't be creepy, don't be weird, don't be sycophantic, don't be whatever it is. I want you to act this way, don't act this way. And that will help with the training. But yeah, I'm actually somewhat refreshed that you find it creepy. So that's healthy. But it's going to be really hard. I've done probably about a year ago, I did an experiment where I think I bought like the top subscriptions to like the top 7 AI detection tools. And I just did an experiment where I fed it things that I knew were 100% AI written, things I knew were 0% AI written, like literally written before like 2015, and then things that were in the middle. None of this stuff was in the training data that it had. So it was like the middle meaning kind of human and AI. You use Grammarly, you use, ChatGPT back and forth, whatever. And I will say it was decent at getting the AI written stuff. It was decent at getting 100% human written stuff. But in the middle, it had no idea. Sometimes it would say, yeah, it's totally AI written. Sometimes, like the same piece of work could have anything from it's 0% to 100% AI in there. When I, as the writer myself, knew what the right percentage was, and it wasn't that. So, I mean, that is one of the things. AI detection is actually really difficult to find out. But I don't doubt that there are a lot of writers out there that are actually using AI to write significant pieces of their books. Yes, that doesn't surprise me.
As we wrap up, one last question. What are some more resources or websites that people can fact check or use, detect any AI generate materials?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, for resources and things like that, like, look, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, those are the 3 models that I use the most. I would also highly recommend Notebook LM. It's a Google model. It is really beneficial. It has some great features, especially for like students wanting to do studying, wanting to do summarizations and things like that, where it really doesn't hallucinate as much as the other models do. So I think all of those are really good. And other resources out there, like there's no class to take to learn AI. There's nothing like this. Like the best way to learn AI is just to use it, just to play around with these things, see what they're capable of, understand what it's good at, understand what it's bad at. You do that, and you're going to become an expert in no time.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, and
Sure.
anyone listening, thank you for watching all the way till the end, and see you in my next video.